As promised in our last live stream, I decided that today we were going to do a short little video just checking up on Keyonte George's progress, most specifically because his 20th birthday just passed us by and he actually got a start that day. With that in mind, the most important thing to keep in mind with him now being a 20-year-old is that not much has changed. And by that, I don't necessarily mean that he hasn't improved, I just mean that we have to appreciate him for the player that he currently is and take advantage of it while it's here. Now, to add a little bit of context to the frame, in the most recent game today, he played against the Indiana Pacers. And in that game, he got his first start of the season, which is the 9th game of the season overall, in which he played a season high minutes of 31, where he had 7 points, 2 rebounds, and 9 assists to go along with only 1 turnover. Understanding that he only had 1 turnover is very important because when you looked at the likes of the Taylor Horton Tuckers, who had 5 assists and 4 turnovers, and Jordan Clarkson, who had 5 assists and 6 turnovers, Keyonte George was a very refreshing presence on the offensive side of the floor. Now, the shot making could use a little bit of work, but that's something that we understood with him coming into this season. He only shoots 42% from the field and 33% from the three-point line. Admittedly, he has hit a 3 in every single one of the games that he's played so far this season, and his field goal percentage and shot selection isn't terrible, so there is an obvious room for improvement that just comes with the more minutes he plays and the more comfortable he gets within the Jazz offense. With that in mind, we do understand that he's only had 1 double-digit scoring game, being way back against the Suns in blowout fashion, where he played his second most minutes, tied with the Timberwolves game of the season, where he ended up taking a season-high 12 shot attempts. However, he only went 4 of 12 and 2 away from the three-point line, to go along with 7 rebounds and 6 assists. With that in mind, I would like to think that this new Keyonte George that we saw in a full start is more so going to be the reliable point guard going forward. Personally, I've had my moments where I've said I would like to see Chris Dunn, and I still would like to see Chris Dunn play along Keyonte George in that starting lineup, or even I would like to see Dunn in Ochai, or just go ahead and let Ochai get to start over Jordan Clarkson. Admittedly, Jordan Clarkson did play pretty efficiently from a scoring standpoint, but you can't win games when you're shooting more shots than the star player, who is Lauri Markkanen. And if memory serves me right, he was 11 for 23 from the floor. Now, the most important thing about Keyonte George to understand is the fact that 9 games into the season, he's played some pretty good minutes, and overall, he tends to stand in the 20-ish minute mark. This is the first significant change we've seen to the starting lineup, as the entire first 8 games sported the same starting 5. THT was moved to the bench, and Walker Kessler was out with an elbow injury and looks to be out for the next 2 weeks at the very minimum, and so Ochai and Keyonte George got the starts. With that in mind, him being able to put together 9 assists with only 1 turnover, there should have been honestly 2 turnovers, but 1 was pointed out to be attributed to Kelly Olynyk on the account of a pass that didn't make it his way and ended up sailing out of bounds. That is a significantly better turnover to assist ratio than we've seen from any other guard play from across this entire 9-game sample size that we have. Now, overall for the season, he averages 22 minutes, scoring 7.3 points to go with 2.2 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and about a third of a steal, and he's only had 1 block so far this season. With that in mind, he also has shot 42% from the field and 33% from the three-point line. Overall, he ends up averaging about 1.7 turnovers, which I expect will go down or stay roughly the same. However, if he's a player where you can expect him to be more meticulous with the ball in his hands and isn't schemed to go downhill and attack the basket as much as, say, Jordan Clarkson is, or tends to do on a nightly basis, then you feel more comfortable with Keyonte being that guy starting at your point guard position. I think it's a much more preferred advantage to THT. And Taylor Horton Tucker did end up having similar numbers off the bench last night as far as shooting splits and just from his assists and turnover marks, albeit in shorter minutes. It would appear that him coming off the bench would provide a little bit more of a defensive boost to the second unit and allow him to feast on smaller guards and less apt wing players. I believe that with the way that the Utah Jazz are playing right now, it is in their best interest to go ahead and let those rookies get some burn. Keyonte George specifically and Ochai, depending on how many shot attempts you're willing to let him get up, I believe that he could be efficient. And more importantly, they would allow you to funnel more shots to Lauri. And Lauri's on the court to be your primary scorer, to be the leader of this team. And for the first time in a couple games, he actually attempted less than 10 threes. If memory serves me right, he was 3 for 5, which is obviously good. But when you have somebody that could end up going 5 of 10, you'd much prefer him also being your star player to go ahead and get those shot attempts up. With that being said, I will openly admit that Keyonte George's major shortcoming will end up being his ability to adjust to the physicality going downhill and at the rim, as I did not see too many plays where he was schemed to have that in his assignment. As far as him being on offense and defensively, he could do a little bit more work recovering and avoiding overhelping when they're in zone coverages and just not getting beat off the dribble with quickness or speed or size when he's on a man-to-man assignment. That being said, considering the way that the Utah Jazz have been struggling to play recently, I believe it's definitely been more than overdue for a change at specifically the guard positions, because while Walker Kessler has had his touch issues, we do understand that there might have been the lingering elbow issue that could have been a part of it. Lauri Markkanen has been shooting lights out and has been doing everything in his power to allow this team to have an opportunity to win games, and John Collins has been finding his points in the flow of the offense without taking away shots from Lauri Markkanen. With that in mind, you've had THT, who's been relatively inefficient while being a proper man defender but struggling in zone, and then you've had Jordan Clarkson, who to date 3 times out of the 9 games has ended up playing subpar and taking a copious amount of shot attempts away from Lauri Markkanen in the process. The simple fact of the matter is Jordan Clarkson cannot be allowed to shoot more jumpers and have more shot attempts go up from his hands than the star player of the team and Lauri Markkanen. Having him go to the bench might be an improvement later on down the road, and we'll see if Coach Hardy ends up making that adjustment. But if not, I definitely believe that Keyonte George getting major minutes as a starting point guard is going to be an immediate upgrade from the offensive perspective of things, and it would allow Lauri to get off more catch and shoot threes and allow Walker Kessler, upon his return, as well as John Collins, to get more comfortable in easy baskets at the rim and in the corner for wide open 3-point attempts. With that in mind, you guys let me know what you think in the comments below, as I'm always interested to find out. If you are interested in supporting the channel, by the time this video goes up, there will be a membership button that you can join, and you can also donate supers. And if you would like to make sure all the money goes towards the growth of the channel, go ahead and hit that link in the description. We do have the Buy Me a Coffee link, which in my case happens to be Buy Me a Basketball, because this is a basketball channel, more so geared toward the Utah Jazz. With that in mind, as always, thanks for tuning in this video. It's your boy Wraith Hoops. Make sure to like this video, comment your thoughts, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And as always, good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.